Welcome. We have a new edition of the Boundary Breakers Collective, and I am super stoked to be here today with Mayim Vega. Mayim is a former NASA computer scientist turned holistic healer after facing a personal health crisis that the modern medical system couldn't resolve. She founded Aruka.com, the Holistic Life Academy, in 2009, which empowers people through a holistic healer certification program, blending naturopathic herbalism, holistic life coaching, and online business and marketing. She helps doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals, as well as holistic minded visionaries without medical backgrounds, to become confident and effective holistic healers. With her scientific mind, holistic healing methods, and faith in the Creator and great physician, Mayim guides others towards personal and professional well being, enabling them to make a meaningful impact in the world, as well as achieve time, location, and financial freedom. Mayim, welcome. It's great to have you here. How are you doing?
Hello and shalom, Helena. I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
You are calling in from Texas. That's the other side of the
Yes, I'm
world.
from, yeah, I used to be in California. That's where I
Mm-hmm.
worked at the NASA Ames Research Center in Moffett Field, California. And then life, so I got married and I had four children. And then we were
Oh,
growing out of our little townhouse over there. We wanted more space, more land and things like that. And it was just more affordable here in Texas. And my husband was able to transfer his job over here. So that's what
yeah,
brought us to Texas.
beautiful. What makes you a boundary breaker, Mayim?
Yes. So I believe I'm a boundary breaker. First of all, even just getting my computer science degree, and I've talked to other women. So I'm 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And back when I was in college, even in high school, when I first started taking computer science classes, like one of the only one or two or three tops, maybe women in the class. So the class would be like 10% or less female.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting. And even I know before my time, I've talked to other people, someone who worked at NASA as a computer scientist, also computer engineer. And she said, yeah, when I was going to school, I was the only one. And it was really
Mm.
hard for her to be accepted. So I think just being in my first profession, that was breaking boundaries and
Already, absolutely. Yeah.
being a woman in that field.
How did your upbringing and how did your parents contribute or impact your choices in order to do this scientific education track and then start at NASA? How did your education impact that?
You know what? My father was an architectural engineer
Mm-hmm.
and he also worked for the government. He worked for the US Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother, he was also into computer science. And I was always on the computer, video games mostly, but I guess I did what they did, what my father and my brother did. And my mother was a teacher, which I love teaching. So that's what I do now. I teach holistic health and healing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still use a lot of my computer science background with my business. Everything is online. But yeah, my parents, I would say, were a big influence to me. And my father
Mm-hmm.
never had any, oh, you're a woman, you should do this, you should do that. He was just
Yeah.
actually, they were telling me, you should be a lawyer because you love to argue all the time. But I really loved computer science because I was like, I can make something. And then with the internet also, I can publish this to the whole wide world. So that is so
Mm-hmm.
powerful. So I guess I wanted the power that came with computer science and creating these awesome things. And yeah, I have no regrets.
Mm-hmm.
But then after I got married and had my first child, I decided to become a stay-at-home mom, work from home mom, and become an entrepreneur so I could take
Mm-hmm.
care of my child and not have someone raise him because I felt like this was very unnatural. What animal in nature gives birth to their offspring and then sends it to another person that they don't even know for 8 hours for
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the day and then comes
That's an
home?
interesting question. Yeah.
It's so unnatural. And I think deep within my heart and soul, I believe that the closer that we are to nature, the better, the healthier, the
Mm-hmm.
happier we will be, even.
Yeah, absolutely. I
So,
can only agree. But yet, making that decision because it's stepping away from a career. at NASA, where people say you studied and then you started this career. Why would you give that up? How did people react when you did that, and how did that make you feel?
I think the only person that really had an opinion was my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "What? You can't do that. You make too much money." And he said, "Do you even know anyone that works from home? Do you know anyone that's an entrepreneur and does what you want to do?" And at that time, I wanted to be a web developer and digital marketer.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a time, mostly for high tech companies, because it was an easy transition from my work at NASA. So I did that, app development and website development and digital marketing. And the
Mm-hmm.
answer was no, I didn't know anyone that did that, but I knew it was possible. Because other people did do that. I didn't know them, and it's
Yeah.
actually even more rare back then. But I just had such faith that if it could be done, I could do it. Why not? Yeah. My parents always instilled in me that I was smart. And so I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes in life we don't feel so smart, and sometimes we do. And I think it's like everyone. And my children now, I have 7 now of my own, and they all have different strengths and
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses. Some of them are good at math, some of them are good at cooking, some of them are good with animals. And I try not to judge them based on what their textbook grades are, what their math and English grades are. But I
Mm-hmm.
try to point out that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get low grades, you just do it again. And that you have a gift and a skill. And just because it's not math or maybe English or whatever, that doesn't mean that you're less smart. You just have different gifts and skills. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to instill that, because the truth is, I really believe that we all have different gifts and skills. And sometimes they're just not appreciated by society, because the way that
Exactly.
society judges us and grades us
Mm-hmm.
is on a very narrow criteria. And so I also have different labels that I was given when I was growing up, and as a young adult, I was given the label depression. I was given the label bipolar. I like to give myself the label ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I just feel like I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
But all of these labels, I think they're just society's ways of giving us a title so that they can understand and be more tolerant of how we
Mm-hmm.
just naturally are. I don't think they are defects or there's something wrong with us. We just have different personality, different types of ways that we are. So, anyways, I was an entrepreneur then. And then I got really sick. I had a health crisis, and I had just terrible pain in my head. I guess they were just migraines. And I just would take the over the counter medication at first, Tylenol and whatever. And it worked in the beginning, but eventually it stopped working. And we didn't have medical insurance at that time. So I waited until it got really bad. And then I went to the emergency room. And in the emergency room, they ran a bunch of tests on me. And initially, the doctor thought that I had a brain tumor. And then she wanted to give me a CT scan to rule that possibility out. So we
Mm-hmm.
took the CT scan, and she said, "Good news, you don't have a brain tumor. But bad news, we have no idea what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really help you. Here's some strong painkillers." And that's it. And she didn't even refer me to anyone or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite disappointing, actually, because I felt like I'm a professional and I take pride in what I do and I try to do the best that I do. And why, with all the hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on this building this hospital, the education of all of these doctors and nurses here, and no one could give me any answers. So I
Mm-hmm.
took the medication was Valium. She gave me some
Whoa.
Valium,
Okay.
and it helped to numb the pain, but it didn't really fix the problem.
Exactly.
It didn't
Mm-hmm.
really go away. And I knew that it was not addressing the root cause. Humans are not meant to
Have these headaches.
eat Valium. It's
I
not a
eat
natural food
Valium.
source. So it's not, I
Yes.
knew that it wasn't helping whatever deficiency or lack that I was facing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I decided to become a holistic healer and figure out how to solve my own health issues. And so I enrolled in nutrition and herbalism and holistic health. And I found out eventually that it was,
Basically, you started this in order to help yourself to find a
yes,
solution for your problem. Yeah.
yes. You know what? And that's having met many holistic minded healers in my walk, in my journey. That's usually how most of us get started, either to heal ourselves or
Mhm.
a loved one, or the
Yeah.
experience of losing a loved one
Hmm.
to to a disease that the modern medical system could not solve.
Yeah.
That's a very common path. But it was very hard because, first of all, it was already a hard thing leaving a job to become an entrepreneur. But it was also hard to stop the first business, which is I was doing very well with, to do something completely new.
Hmm.
But anyways, first of all, I found out that I was deficient in B12. And so I started taking B12 and the headaches finally went away. The migraines went away. And they were, it wasn't just numbing the pain. It truly went away. And so I just, if I would supplement with that regularly or whenever got a headache, then I just wouldn't experience them anymore. But then the next question is, why was I B12 deficient? And then I
Hmm.
found out that it was because number one, I was I was trying to be vegan. So I was vegetarian, trying to be vegan, and that caused a great B12 deficiency. And then a secondary reason was that I was just experiencing a lot of stress in my business. So it was as a new entrepreneur, I had to get used to not having a steady paycheck, but it being more sporadic and being patient and not letting my clients frustration get to me, being able
Yeah.
to manage my emotions and things like that. These are all skills that I didn't have to learn just having a regular job, especially working for the nonprofit sector in the government at NASA.
Hmm.
So I had to learn different skills.
Yeah.
And so that was the second portion of it. And then so then that was the root cause. And I figured out
Yeah.
the root cause. It was the stress and it was my diet.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
simple now that I look at it. And unfortunately, medical doctors and nurses and things like this, they're not trained with this kind of training, with this knowledge of nutrition and what kind of herbs and supplements and lifestyle adjustments and stress management techniques that people need.
Hmm.
And so I just felt like there was such a great need to help people. And I didn't set out to have doctors and nurses as my students. I really set out and designed my program to help people like me, who just
Yeah.
mothers, women who wanted to get answers and they weren't finding it in the modern medical system. And
Yeah.
then I started finding out that doctors and nurses wanted these things too. They wanted this education too. So I was surprised to find that I didn't feel qualified to be educating doctors and nurses, but lo and behold, they came to study with me. I'm very privileged to have that honor to just help people overcome the same challenges that I did. And for me, it was boundary breaking because no one told me that I could do this. I just did my research and then enrolled in different certification programs. And also, each program, they had their own bias. They had some programs, my first programs, they emphasized also the vegan vegetarianism, which I knew was not helpful. So I had to keep searching for better answers in nutrition. So I think another thing about boundary breaking is never listening to one person who says
Hmm.
that this is everything. So this is in my practice also. I will freely admit I do not know everything. And when someone comes to me, I tell them, you are your own best healer. I'm here to help you unleash your inner healer. And
Hmm.
I'm only any healer, not just me, any healer, any doctor, any coach. They're just here to impart wisdom to you, give you their share of knowledge and experience. But ultimately, you have to put the pieces together because your situation is unique. Whether
Hmm.
you're trying to build your own business or you're trying to heal yourself or whatever it is, your case is going to be unique. In fact, your business will not be successful unless it is unique and it has your special touch and
Hmm.
your special experiences that drive it and motivate it. So a
Yeah.
cookie cutter business that looks like exactly like your teacher or mentor or someone else's business, it's not going to be very successful. You have to make it your own.
Absolutely. Mayim, you absolutely qualify as a boundary breaker. And in your story that you tell so beautifully and in flow, like it's just something that didn't take a lot of energy and courage. I do know that it took a lot of energy and courage. And also probably shifting your belief systems and shifting, going from what you knew that was true at that time for you to something unknown or to create a new reality or a new truth. So How was that for you to make these steps? Because you went from having this career at NASA to become an entrepreneur, to become a mom entrepreneur, to shift your business again in terms of going web design and development, which is something still technical and still linear, to something completely different in the holistic. And then again, instead of working with patients like you started working with nurses and doctors, where you at
Well, I
first
do
felt like,
both.
okay, how can, yeah, I remember you wrote, that's true. But where you at first thought, how can I teach them? And still you find the confidence and the ease and the grace to do that. So how does that work? What is it that you could share with the people listening or watching here as something that they can develop in order to make that easier also for them and for their aspirations and ambitions?
Well, you know what? I have a faith, I have a belief that every single challenge that you have in life is there to help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I never shirk that. And I never try to put the ultimate responsibility for any aspect of my life on someone else. So if someone can't help me, I do not consider it their failure necessarily. They may have failed me in that specific instance, but it's ultimately not their challenge. It's my challenge.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't help me with my challenge. So I have to go somewhere else. And I
Yeah.
think having this very resilient attitude of number one, the challenges are there to strengthen you. They're not there to hurt you. They're not there to bring you down. It's not going to be your ultimate demise. It's going to be a challenge that will help you grow stronger. I have that innate faith and that
Mm-hmm.
outlook and perspective in life. And I think that's very powerful. And then I think the second key to it is that I also believe that I have a faith that we were put on this earth to help repair it. I'm Jewish, and there's this Jewish belief. It's called tikkun olam, and it means healing the world or repairing the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that if there's something that you see in the world that is broken and you don't see anyone else that can help, you're seeing that there's a lack there, that means that you have been chosen to repair that portion of the world, of that life, especially if you've been given the answer. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh wow, how many people deal with this? So many people, they don't find the answers that they need in the modern medical system.
Yeah.
Doctors, even doctors and nurses. I just interviewed a doctor the other day. She was telling me that she trained as a medical doctor and then specialized in nephrology. And then, even in her specialty, she did not find the answers that she needed to help
Mm-hmm.
people with kidney problems. And so she had to enroll in an additional program outside of medical school to do functional medicine, where she learned about the nutrition and supplements and lifestyle and things like this that I
Yeah.
also learned with my education to help
Mm-hmm.
people. So never be satisfied if you don't have the answer. Never think, oh, I haven't found the answer in this institution, in this program. I guess it doesn't exist. No,
Mm-hmm.
keep looking, keep searching the answers out there. Trust your inner drive. We all have an inner drive
Mm-hmm.
to seek things, to want to know things and learn things and understand things, find answers and solutions. I guess that comes also from my computer scientist engineering mind. There's a problem. Our mission is to find the solution and just to apply that in every aspect of your life, your business, your health, your
Mm-hmm.
marriage, your parenting. It doesn't matter. I believe I wanted to divorce my husband twice. Before I did, I was always like, what can we try to solve this problem instead? And we
Yeah.
did it. We did counseling, we did coaching, we would read books together, marriage books together, we would pray together, we would have more time out together, date nights and things like this, and different things. And I just also, my children, I have seven of my own, and I also have two which are adopted. We didn't adopt them. My husband's mother adopted them, but then she became too old to take care of them properly. So we started taking care of them full time.
So you raise 9 children.
Yes, we're raising nine. The oldest is 21 now, and the
Yeah.
other one is turning 19. So they help me, but we're still feeding them. One of them, he's an entrepreneur and he's about to move out on his own. But until
Mm-hmm.
he moves out on his own, we're just giving him the opportunity to live rent free, and so that
Mm-hmm.
he can save money to have a good start. So we're still feeding him, so that I consider him still my child because I'm still taking care of him,
Of
feeding him,
course.
and housing him and things like that. But yes, so we have 9 that we're taking care of. They do help out, but it was very hard to integrate the 2 that were adopted into our family.
Mm-hmm.
Their mom is still alive. She lives right next door. The fact that they spend the majority of their time every day here with us and just integrating them into our family, that was a source of marital problems for me. I almost
Mm-hmm.
it was one of the reasons why I felt like giving up on the marriage, is because I thought this was too hard for me. But we made it through. I think the marriage coaching really helped, and then also talking to our children about it
Mm-hmm.
and helping them understand that this is going to be a family effort, and that we love them, and that they are a priority, and that it's things will change, but things we can do it the best way that we can. And this is instead of a personal challenge, now it's a family challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to be giving our family skills, and we're also helping other people too. Just having my family think about things this way was very helpful.
That's beautiful. Basically, what you do is stepping away from seeing it as a personal problem, but seeing it as a family or as a team challenge where everybody has responsibility and commitment and contributes to create the living environment for everybody. And that's absolutely beautiful. Because as a role model, that can count. We are all role models, at least for our children, but for many other people also that are looking at us. And you already said that your parents also had an impact on how you developed in your life and how you looked at yourself and how you build your confidence and your trust in doing things that you felt were yours to do. So, what advice would you give to parents that have children, especially older children, where they feel like they lack the control and they see them starting creating a life that might be different from what they knew or what they feel is right or is the best? What's your advice for parents in terms of allowing children also to thrive their own way?
Yeah, I think one of the key things for me was being very open with my children. I talk
Mm-hmm.
to them about anything and everything. If they've already heard about it, it's the right time to talk about it. If they're
Of
asking the question, let's go ahead and tell them. And I don't try to prevent them from experiencing things.
Yeah,
More, what I like to do is I like to guide them through it. Some, I don't know, maybe some of my children, they're like, oh, you let me do this too early. It's, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like, maybe you should do that with the other kids. Like, okay, maybe. I feel like if you prevent them from doing a lot of things, of course, you're going to prevent them from doing some things. But I don't also want it to be like, oh, you turned 18, now you can do whatever you want. But before that, no, I'm like, no, let's
it's a gradual
introduce you to
thing.
things while you're
Mm-hmm.
young, while you're under my influence, so that I
Mm-hmm.
can show you how to properly react, so that I
Mm-hmm.
can show you how to guide your emotions through these experiences, so I
Mm-hmm.
can show you what may be harmful to you and what is good for you. So I think that is a very good thing. I'm Jewish, and there's a story in the Bible about the Garden of Eden, and there's a story about the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And there's one legend in Judaism that says that the tree of the forbidden fruit, it's not that it was always going to be forbidden, that God just didn't want them to eat it yet, that
Mm-hmm.
he was going to let them eat it, but when they were ready, and he wanted to guide them through that process of eating it, so that the consequences of having this knowledge, because remember, that knowledge was the tree of good and evil. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we want to teach our children evil, don't we want to be there to
Exactly.
teach them those things?
Mm-hmm.
Not that we can't shelter it from them forever, because then we would be doing them a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very important, is that we need to tell our children about the evil in the world, and that way they will trust us more. I think part of
Exactly.
the rebellion that a lot of teenagers face is because they don't trust their children, their parents, to tell them the truth, to
Mm-hmm.
maybe give them what they want. So I don't try to hinder my children from having what they want. I more question like, do you really want this? Why do you want
Mm-hmm.
this? And then
Mm-hmm.
what's the best way to get what you want
Mm-hmm.
instead of just saying no.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I like it. Thank you so much for that, Mayim. I have a last question, and that is you have been, your studies and also your work environment with NASA are in pretty man dominated or man settled environments. And then you started in this holistic world, bringing something completely different, where I feel a lot of feminine influence and a lot of feminine qualities. And you already mentioned, yes, but I still rely on my computer science education and my brain in order to bring everything together. So it feels, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like you have this beautiful integration of the masculine and the feminine, which is something that is, for me, very desirable for everybody to develop. So how to do that?
How to do that? So I think for me it came very easily. And I think my parents never were like, you should do this, or they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have these traditional roles. So I'm Filipino. That is my ethnicity. And in the Philippines, we have strong women. In America, here in America, we're like, oh, we need a female president. And I'm like, oh, we already had a female president in the Philippines. And then
Yeah.
even some of my friends are like, oh, but how would the rest of the world look at us if we had a female president? And then I'm like, you know what? I understand that a lot of the people in the world would, a lot of other nations, they might look down on us if we had a female president, but that's their problem. It's not our
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Yeah.
That's not our problem. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't choose a president based on their sex. I wouldn't want to vote for someone just because they're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, like Tulsi Gabbard, she was running for president. I thought she was my candidate. I was like, I would vote for her. If she made the finals, she would be the one. I think she would make an excellent president.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, women have more pushback. I was talking to my friend. Was she in Spain? I think she was, or I don't remember if she lived in Spain or France. I was interviewing her, Dr. Basilico, and she's a doctor in finance. And she was saying that women are not in leadership or financial roles, like leadership, like CEO roles in companies very much, or they don't normally handle the finances. She said, but when they do, they actually perform. I don't remember the exact statistics, but they perform better than men on
Mm-hmm.
average. So less women are in those roles, but when they are, they actually perform better than men statistically.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to be ashamed of who we are as women.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we're given a harder time, but that doesn't mean we're inferior at all. And perhaps that is our challenge in this world as females,
Mm-hmm.
is to, maybe our challenge is to break the boundaries. There's this verse in the Bible. It says, one of the curses, right? One of the curses that says, it says for men, for the curse for Adam was, in toil, in toil you shall labor, meaning for your food. It's speaking about food, right? And then in the same curse for women, it says, in pain you shall give birth. The word pain is different from the word toil, but the Hebrew word is the same. It says
Mm-hmm.
that it should not be in pain you shall give labor. It should be in toil you shall give labor. So both working for men and labor, it should be hard work. Meaning, so let me say this, meaning when we work, it doesn't necessarily have to be hard for us to work, which may be why sometimes when we take on these roles, some like financially, like she said, sometimes we outperform men. But another part of the curse was, your desire, speaking to the woman, says, your desire shall be for your husband. And so perhaps it's this kind of like a curse where we think that we are inferior to men, but it's like a mindset curse, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just a mindset curse. We don't have to
It
be.
is.
And so I
Absolutely.
have, listen, I not only have 9 children, I also homeschool them. I've homeschooled my 7 children, all of them. And then when we adopted the two, I also started homeschooling them. If I can homeschool 9 children and run a successful business.
You're amazing.
And also we honestly, I don't take them to see medical doctors. We do everything, we heal everything ourselves. We do home cooked food, we do herbs and
Mm-hmm.
supplements and diet and lifestyle to heal of anything that comes our way. We have not had to use any prescription medication to heal ourselves of common diseases. The only thing that I've ever taken my children into the doctor for is when they break their bone. We need doctors to break to set those bones
Yeah.
and things like that. If there's surgery, I'm not qualified. So
Mm.
thankfully, we've never had to do that yet. There's so many things and we're meant to be. I believe women, we should be the healers of our home, from the food that we cook to the herbal remedies and the advice that we give to our children. Don't eat too much sweets. Go outside and play. Don't be so upset about that. These are all
Mm.
healing things that we do for our families. These words, these actions,
Yeah.
the nutrition we provide, the comfort that we provide. These are all what healers need to do to help
Mm.
people. And
Yeah.
women, that's our natural role. So maybe it's not a curse. Maybe this idea of, oh, we shouldn't do these things that men do, it's so that we can be the healers of our families. So maybe in that way, it's also a blessing,
Yeah.
that we are the traditional stereotype for the woman is to be at home, because that's a very important role. That's
Absolutely.
we shouldn't look down at the women who choose to be traditional mothers and wives and
Mm-hmm.
not in the workforce either, because that's important.
Exactly. That's beautiful. I must say, Mayim, you are exceptional. You are amazing. You are a boundary breaker. And thank you for sharing your story. And I'm sure that we can have way more episodes and still not have the complete picture of who you are and what you represent. But you gave us so many beautiful stories and wisdom. And I thank you so much for sharing that. I will make sure also that all the contact information is beyond in the show notes and in the comments so people can reach out if they want to find out more about you or what you offer. And thank you so much for what you do, for being you. It's extremely important. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And thank you also for empowering women through your podcast and also your coaching. It's very important. We need to do this for each other, because sometimes a lot of
Absolutely.
women, they don't grow up with the kind of encouragement and support and examples
Mm.
that you're showing.
Exactly. And co-creating it is just a wonderful way of doing that. So thank you for being in my circle. And for everybody listening in or watching, I hope you enjoyed. I believe that today we brought amazing wisdom and insights and smiles on your faces also with the stories that Mayim shared here. So see you again next week. Take care and have a great week. Bye.